Hi there everybody. Again, my name is Devansh. I welcome you to this SCS introductory video. So this is an introduction of what the SCS exam is. Now we hold the Global Pass Rate Excellence Award for 3 years in a row. So the entire pattern and structure that we lay out is well tried, well tested and works. So in this video, whether you're coming from the FLP route, the A-star route, the CSEP route, any other exemptions route, directly taking the strategic case study exam, this video helps you deal with what the exam is about, the pattern of the exam, the structure of the exam, the skills you need for this exam, and then obviously a lot of talk around blueprints and core areas. So that's what we will introduce as well. So rest assured, this is an holistic view of how your preparation can be solid. And my understanding is it can only be solid if you know what this exam is. So this exam, in my perspective, is 3 pillars. I will keep reiterating it. I will keep relating it that way. So please get your head around these 3 pillars. The first pillar is knowing the structure of the exam, knowing how to study, and hence this first pillar is linked to your revision. So E3, P3 and F3, E, P and F form the base of your knowledge for this exam. But then knowing how to study these syllabus areas from a case study perspective, by knowing the structure of the exam is what we focus on. So knowing the structure and then relating it that way, studying E3, P3 and F3 that way is going to be very important. That's pillar number 1. Pillar number 2 is the pre-seen pillar. The pre-seen company that they give you, which is released before every May and November attempt, because the case study is used over 2 windows. So May and August has the same case study, pre-seen. November and February has the same pre-seen. So this is released before the May and the November exam. So knowing the ins and outs of your company is the second pillar. Third pillar is actually putting your first pillar and second pillar knowledge to use and writing exam styled mock questions in an exactly exam styled environment and getting them personally marked by professional tutors like us. If you're on our course, then all 3 will be taken care of by me and my team. You don't have to worry. So let's start with the first pillar, overview of the exam. Now in this exam, you are going to be given the role of a senior finance professional. You'll need your E3, P3 and F3 knowledge to tackle very application and realistic based challenges. Do not feel that you will mug up everything from E3, P3 and F3 and it will be a great exam attempt. No. Students often fumble because this is what they think. You can have the knowledge in your mind, but how to actually apply it, how to actually type it out, how to actually put it into words is where the actual game is. So that is what we will be focusing on. So you step into the shoes of a CGMA CIMA qualified strategist. That is your role, senior finance strategy professional, where you'll have to make decisions, recommend decisions, because questions in the exam are often going to ask you, why do you think we should do this? Should we do this? What do you think we should do? Now, if you don't know a particular concept, how are you planning to explain that? How are you planning to reason? So always what we try to ascertain is to understand the role. The role is going to be of a senior finance strategy professional. Now you might wonder, okay, what is this exam, going to be like? So I am overall giving you a structure in terms of an overview where the elements in this exam are the testing ability or integration ability that you show. So your ability to integrate learning from all 3 levels, E3, P3 and F3 is what you got to showcase over here. Your skill in analyzing new information quickly and formulating good strategic recommendations is what will hold true. So by treating this SCS exam on the onset, I want you to remember that this is a situation where you are sitting in a boardroom. CEO is asking you a question, formulate your answer, and how will you respond? That is the crux of this exam. That is the entire overview which I want to lay out for you over here. And that is what is going to happen in the exam. Pre-seen material is already given to you, which you will have gone through. And then on exam day, you will be given an unseen task, which means additional scenario, additional data. I'll show you deeper in this video, but just trying to tell you, like, it will simulate a board situation where they are telling you, like, let's say the unseen will tell you that this is the discussion that we've had. We've launched a new product, for example, and I want your views on how we should go about managing stakeholders for this particular product launch. So you got to think that, okay, I'm sitting with my CEO, this is the unseen CEO scenario that has been given to me, formulate my answer using E, P and F knowledge, and then you actually got to type it out. So as you can see, this is a challenging exam. But if you know your role, if you know your syllabus areas, if you know your company, and then if you have practiced your typing, how can you go wrong? And that is what my course focuses on from the start. So rest assured, this is what the exam pattern and structure is going to be. So the overview that we did on the first page tells us that our mindset has to be right. So first thing we spoke about was mindset, and continuing that mindset as the first pillar, because first pillar is mindset plus revision. Mindset we spoke about. Now let's speak about revision. Now before you begin, remember that you should have covered your E3, P3 and F3 content. If you're on the traditional route, you would have passed the individual objective tests, which means you already have E3, P3 and F3 knowledge. Great. If you're on the exemptions route or the FLP route, you will have to gather your E3, P3 and F3 knowledge. And students often falter over here. By gather, they often think that, oh, I'll have to learn everything and mug up everything and remember everything in E3, P3 and F3. No. The SCS exam isn't about learning theory. It's about applying knowledge in a realistic scenario. And to help you out, CIMA has given you blueprints or core areas, like they call it. So these core areas, there are 5 core areas which we are going to speak about eventually, obviously. But these 5 core areas are pretty much your syllabus guidance, syllabus indications, telling you what knowledge you are supposed to have from the E, P and F situation. So just to put it in front of you, the SCS blueprint is like a list of key roles you'll need to perform. For example, let's say just putting the blueprints on your screen, there are 5 blueprint areas that have been laid out for us. And in these 5 blueprint areas, CIMA says that as a finance manager, you're playing the simulation of a senior finance strategist. So you should be able to do these 5 jobs. You should be able to accomplish these 5 activities or roles seamlessly. And what are these roles? These are your core areas. So core area A says develop business strategy. So as a CIMA qualified senior strategist, you should be able to develop business strategy. Those who have revised E3 would already start to figure out, oh, there were a lot of models and theories and guidances in the E3 syllabus related to developing business strategy. And then these core areas are broken down into separate I can statements to help you narrow down on syllabus areas. For example, the first one is I can evaluate strategic options. Now in our E3 syllabus, there are a lot of strategic option choosing enabling models. Like let's say, you can refer to the Ansov's matrix, you can refer to the BCG matrix. These are all models within the E3 syllabus that will help you make a strategic choice, a strategic option. So you should be able to replicate this knowledge. That is what CIMA is saying. So to help you narrow down your revision, these blueprint areas and these I can statement explanations have been given to you. And through my course, I am going to help you revise E3, P3 and F3, and obviously these blueprint areas, because these blueprint areas are nothing but concepts from E, P and F. So we will narrow down on these areas, we will write mock questions on these areas, we will help you revise on these areas so you can play the role of a senior finance manager well by having good knowledge to support your answers. For example, just think that there is a question in the exam based on Ansov's matrix. For example, they've created an unseen where they are telling you that okay, and then they want you to evaluate that situation based on Ansov's matrix. If you don't know what the Ansov's matrix is, or for example they're asking you that okay, I want to change from a stable dividend to a increasing dividend or a zero dividend policy, for example. Now if you don't know what these policies are, which is part of your core area C, if you don't know what these policies are, if you don't know what these syllabus areas are, how are you even going to suggest? For this you don't need any mugging up, for this you don't need any sum solving, you need simple business acumen. But it starts with revision. It starts with E, P and F knowledge. Again, taking us back to the first pillar, knowing what this exam is and how to study, plus guided, focused E, P and F pillar revision. Now we are the only tuition provider who do a individualized blueprint explanation document, which is explaining each blueprint, each I can statement and relating to E3, P3 and F3 topics in one PDF file to help you revise in a quick, efficient, effective way. It will be an unbelievably helpful revision document which we will introduce through our course for you. This is not a haphazard course. Everything will come to you at the right moment, at the right time. But this, this first step that I laid out explained so many things to you. This first step that I laid out told us the role that we are playing, told us the importance of revision, and also I introduced the blueprint or the I can areas for you, telling you that your exam is going to revolve around these aspects. So if you revise these aspects well, your skill number one, which is revision, knowing what this exam is on the right path. Just to give you an example, again, let's say you are a senior finance manager, that's the role that we are simulating. Key area is strategic planning. So they tell you in the exam there is an unseen which tells you assess emerging risks and ensure value creation. Naturally, you will need to know the different types of risks from your P3 syllabus, your business ecosystem, which means how your business functions, from your pre-scene analysis, and then you should be able. So revision being an important aspect and you being able to showcase these situations in your answer is very important. So first, the structure of the exam is important to know that I don't want to mug up anything, it's a simulation. Second, within this itself, the blueprint areas or the core areas will give me direction on what I should focus on, what areas I should remember. And for this reason only, especially if you are from the FLP route, from the exemptions route, we have a systematic SCS revision course available for you. This revision course is very much chapter focused and is very much pre-seen, or rather let's say case study focused, because it will give you direct information in a very simple explanatory way and will tell you what to focus on from the case study perspective, with each video in the revision course ending with learning documents. What are these learning documents, you will say? So again, the core areas are only telling you that okay, this concept you should focus on. But how should I learn the concept? How should I remember the concept? So the core areas and the topics identified in the core areas by us are further given importance to within our revision course through videos on them, plus learning documents on them, which are on your screen, which tells the students what objective it is to learn that particular aspect or to go through that particular aspect. For example, let's say the second learning says there are different levels of strategy. For your strategic case study exam, you are given the role of a senior finance officer, which means you are making decisions on the corporate level. So only know what other levels exist in your own words. So here I should close my eyes and ask myself, if you have gone through my revision course video or my study notes, this has been very much addressed over there. And then when you pick up these learning documents, this very clearly, if you are able to recite it out in 3, 4, 5 of your own words, own lines, you're on the right path. So here I want to ask myself, do I know what corporate strategic level is? It's at the top of the organization making strategy decisions. Next is management, and then there is operational. Fine, tick, move on. I'm not mugging anything. I'm not remembering everything word by word in the notes or in the revision course. This is the way we recommend students to revise, so that you are learning as and when you move on and in your own words, without any stress, without aiming to remember everything, because that is not the need for this exam. This is my learning documents, and this is the revision that I have been speaking about, very much linked to the blueprint areas, very much linked to the actual structure of this exam. So that was pillar number 1. Pillar number 1 is all about revision, all about blueprints, all about focusing on actually understanding what this exam is. So how do we now move to the second aspect, which is how to tackle the SCS pre-seen document? Because a lot of students again struggle with knowing, the actual nuances of how to use the pre-seen. The pre-seen document is 22 pages released by CIMA, sometimes 25 also. What should I do? My suggestion is, or rather what we do is, become truly familiar with the pre-seen. Read it closely, word by word by word. Think, I am working, I'm going for an interview to start my job at a new company, and this is the company which I'm going to start my job on. Naturally, when you're starting a new job, you'll do all the research about what this company is, what it does, its past, its present, what it's planning to do for the future. All of this information will be there in the pre-seen, which you will need to go through, and you will need to understand the big picture. Spot business models, finance models, external signals, what the business does, its weaknesses, its strengths. All of this somewhere, somehow relates to your E3, P3 and F3 syllabus. So what I'm trying to do is, while you become truly familiar, spot key E3, P3 and F3 topics. Naturally, when you study with experts like us, we do this topic identification for you. We do the topic explanation for you, and then we will test you on these topics as well through our mock questions. But if you're doing it by yourself, be very careful to identify the topics and then understand that this is the topic that I've identified. Make sure I have revised that topic, and make sure you actually are able to explain that topic in your own words, because the pre-seen is knowing your company, highlighting conceptual topics from E3, P3 and F3, but understanding again the entire picture of your company. So be very clear about the details, financial details, boardroom details, board structure, what each board of director does, what the overall company's image is, picture is. Everything will be there in the pre-scene. Don't skim through it. Word by word by word, read through it, relate to E3, P3 and F3, every place that you can. You're studying with us, we will take care of everything within our pre-scene analysis. We will give you all the possible permutations, combinations within our pre-scene analysis. So, the second pillar of this exam being the pre-scene warrants a slide completely on it, because without the pre-scene, this exam is not going to make sense. So, knowing your pre-scene is step number 2. Finally, that brings us to our third part, which is writing. And to understand writing, we need to know the structure of this exam, right? So this is going to be your first screen in the exam. I'm going to explain it to you, but this is going to be your first screen. Now on this first screen, it tells you that there is going to be 3 questions in this exam. Each question is going to be for 60 minutes each. And then within a question, there can be X number of subtasks, which means sub-questions. Like first I want this, second I want this. That makes up question number 1. And then they're telling you that in this first question, they've given you a split. They've said percentage time to spend on each subtask. So for subtask A, it's 60%, subtask B, it's 40%. This is how the first screen is going to be in your exam, clearly telling you that one question has 2 tasks, second question is also 2 tasks, third question is also 2 tasks. It can have 3 tasks and it can have 4 tasks as well. Minimum of 2, maximum of 4. Now what does this first question, first screen actually tell us? This first screen is actually telling you a very important thing. In 60 minutes, the first question is to be solved, and then question number 1 is automatically submitted. Once it's submitted, once 60 minutes are up, you cannot go back to question number 1 and view it and review it and check it. No. Everything has to be done in the first 60 minutes itself. So this is very clear indication. If you don't have your revision, you can't sit there and think you don't have time. If you don't know the pre-scene, you can't sit there and think again you don't have the time. If you haven't practiced typing, you can't sit there and type only few words and expect to pass. No. So to do well on this exam, again, 3 pillars are important: revision, pre-scene and writing. So first question, 60 minutes, done. Second question, 60 minutes, done. Third question, again 60 minutes, and that is when your exam will get completed. This is the overall structure of the exam, and the importance of time here tells you the importance of pre-preparation. Because if you haven't pre-prepared well in the right direction, in the right trajectory, then don't expect yourself to do miracles in the exam, obviously, because this is a professional course and a challenging exam. For you to be able to ace it, very easy as long as you follow certain directives and steps which we lay out through our course. So as an example, I've just taken one question on screen. This is what an actual exam question is going to look like. Let me read it with you, just a quick brief. So they are saying that the CFO has stopped by your workplace and the CFO is speaking to you. So I've brought you a news article. We are aware of this, and there is a decline in demand from lithium from car makers. We had hoped that this would be temporary, but this announcement suggests otherwise. So I want 2 things from you, like I told you. The first task is mentioned and then it says subtask 60%. Then the second task is mentioned and then it says subtask 40%. And then there is a reference material which opens up like this. So this is extra information. This is what we call unseen. The pre-seen is what you already have, information about the company. This is an unseen scenario which pops up when you start a question. 60 minutes have started to tick. This is your question. Now you need to know how to break it down, what model to use, how to start writing, where to start writing, what to start writing. And if you haven't done your preparation through a systematic course like ours, how are you going to figure this out? Just by looking at past papers or just by looking at a few mocks here and there, it's not going to be possible. Practice is what our course will focus on in due course. So to some nuances now. Again, the importance, what is this 60%? What is this 40%? A lot of people get confused in this. I don't like to look at it as time allocation. I like to look at it as mark allocation. Let's understand the marking a little bit. See, first, CIMA says that every student's exam is going to be marked out of 100 marks. So you will tell me, then why is my score out of 150? You need 80 out of 150 scaled to pass. Scale being the operative word over here or important word over here. What does scale mean? See, there are going to be 3 variants in your exam, which means if I sit the exam today and 2 hours later another student sits the exam, the computer randomly assigns an exam to us. There are 3 variants of this same exam, different questions. First exam, 3 questions. Second exam, 3 different questions. Third exam, 3 different questions. This is obviously to avoid discussion, cheating, whatever you want to call it. So randomly you get a paper. Now every paper has different questions. So the difficulty of every paper slightly varies. Everything is related to the pre-seen, but every unseen is different. So the difficulty changes. Some question can be on Ansough's matrix. Another variant has a question on, let's say, business valuation, which is a more technical topic. So that way, question difficulty will vary slightly. Now, is it fair to mark a student who got a relatively easier topic and a student who got a relatively difficult topic on the same wavelength? No, right? So for this reason, CIMA says that first, every student's exam mark out of 100 marks. And then whatever the student's score is out of 100, then depending on the variant they got, let's say you got an easier variant, I will multiply your score by a lower weightage. So let's say weightage is assigned by CIMA. Nobody knows this weightage. It's completely arbitrary. Only CIMA knows it. So let's say weightage for one particular variant is 1.2 for the easier one. For the difficult one, the weightage will be 1.5. So let's say you scored 60 out of 100 on the easier one, they'll multiply it by 1.2. 60 out of 100 in the difficult one, they'll multiply it by 1.5. So this is getting each variant on parity. This is some technicalities which I like to explain. Now you will say, so that is what the scaled explanation is. First, every student's exam is marked out of 100. Then a scale is multiplied depending on the variant that you got, where you need to then score 80 out of 150 to pass. Now this weightage I don't know, I can't control. So what do I recommend for my students is forget the weightage. 100 marks is what you can control. So 100 marks is what I focus on. Let's say out of this 100, I want to always aim to reach that 65-70 out of 100 as the pass mark. I will keep that as a, let's say a difficult goal for me to meet, because if I meet that, I am automatically going to pass this exam, whatever the weightage situation is. So set a stretch target for yourself. Don't set a minimum 50-55 is what I want to score out of 100. No. Aim for 65-70, aim for 80, so that even if something goes wrong in the exam, you will easily pass. Have that goal, a stretch goal in your mind. Obviously, when you prepare with us, we prepare for 100 only. Now, 100 marks is what I can control. And there are 3 questions. So naturally, every question is worth 100 divided by 3, 33 marks roughly. So this one question that you're seeing on your screen right now is worth 33 marks. From that, they are telling you that the first task is worth 60% of those marks. Entire is 33. Task A is 60%. So 60 upon 100 into 33 gives me 20 marks, roughly 19, 20 marks. And then the remaining 12, 13, 14 marks is for task B. Why is this important? Because CIMA says one well-explained point, one well-explained argument gives you 2 marks. So if I want to score 20 marks, I will bare minimum have to give them 7 to 8 points. Yes, you will say that 20 divided by 2 comes up to 10. But realistically, writing 10 points is not going to be possible. So aim for at least 7-8 points as a stretch target for yourself for task number 1. Same way for task number 2. Aim for, it's 12 marks, aim for 4 to 5 points minimum. Then even if you write 4 points, if you aim for 4-5 points and you write 4 points, it's okay. But if you aim only for 2-3 points, then you'll never be able to write more. And then you are losing out on your marks and losing out on your credit. This is very important to understand. This, I always like to split it in terms of the number of points I got to write, because that clearly tells me, okay, write this much, get your marks. Write this much, get your marks. So for example, it says identify and evaluate the challenges. So if I identify and then evaluate 6 to 7 challenges, well explained, I will be able to get my marks, get my credit for task A. Same way, second is explain how Rotomind might benefit from applying scenario planning. So if I give them 4 to 5 benefits of applying scenario planning, I will get my marks, I will get my credit. This is what the breakdown actually means. This is very important, and many tuition providers and many students themselves overlook this and they divide it by time. I try to, and I always like to divide it by the number of points we are expected to write. And this is how we will be practicing all of our mock questions. When you do mock questions with me, I will again introduce mock question writing, show you how to write the points, how many lines to write in one point, what does one good well explained point means. All of that will come to you eventually through the course. But because we are on the third pillar of this exam, which is writing, it's important to understand how much to write, which I have explained over here. And without knowing scenario planning, which is revision, you can't write it. Without knowing ecosystem of your company, which is pre-seen, you can't write it. And without having actually practiced typing in 60 minutes, you're not going to be able to write it and eventually not pass this exam. So if you focus on the 3 pillars which I have pointed out for you, nobody is stopping you from passing. So this exam in a nutshell is a real world simulation, knowing your EP and F syllabus. Again, simple, easy explanations in your own words. No sums, no mugging up, no nothing. Then knowing your pre-seen. Then applying all of this within a timed scenario. All 3 I will teach you through the course. So by following the course, by following these instructions, I am sure you will do well. Good luck. Thank you for being here.